I almost lost about $400 in fish. Well, this is not the video I thought I would be making for this one. This is supposed to be a video on a Higer heater that they sent me. Boom, there's the picture. Unfortunately, it's still going to be about that, but not solely about that. So last week, I made a huge boo-boo with this 40 tank here. 39 tall, whatever you want to call it. I called it 40 because I want to round it up. I was doing a water change. Usually I don't do big 50%. I only do about 10, 20 if I'm going to change them. But I wanted to get my new Anubias on my driftwood that came in. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to drain it down to the driftwood, attach it. We'll fill it up. No problem. I added new fish anyway, so might as well, you know, do water change just to make sure the levels are fine and everything. Well, I did that. Hooked up my auto water change Higer system. And I didn't think I just turned the water on and started filling it up. Because usually I don't take the water. So I'm filling it up. I filled it up all the way. Moved on to the other 40 behind me. Next thing I know, I look over. Not even 2 minutes. And my 2-spot catfish is upside down. Rummy noses are flopped over. Bleeding hearts are doing loop-de-loops. And I'm like, whoa, what the heck is going on here? So I start instantly siphoning the water back out of the tank. And then I look at the thermometer as I'm doing that. First thing I always do is take water out and start another change if anything's wrong. I look at the thermometer. It reads about 52 or 53 degrees. That tank is usually 75, 76. So I look at that and I'm like, oh no. I instantly knew what I did wrong. I pumped straight cold water into this tank. Usually that's okay for me because I'm only changing 10%. It was a 50% water change. And I've got freezing cold water. Water comes out of our taps like 50 degrees, pumping into this tank. So 25 degrees colder than what's normal is going into this tank. And because it was such a larger volume of water than I'm normally doing, it dropped the temperature down 20-ish degrees in that tank. Normally a couple degree difference of temperature is not going to make your fish go crazy. If you go from 77 to 75 or even 74, fish are going to be fine with that. But it only took about 4 to 5 minutes to fill that tank up halfway. That is way too quick of a climate change difference in the tank for the fish. So the bigger tetras and some of them are hardier tetras were fine. The rummy nose were not good. The 2-spot catfish was not good at all. And the bleeding hearts were not good at all. I had this little programmable Higer heater that they sent me months ago to do tests on. It's only 100 watt. 40-gallon tank needs bigger than a 100-watt heater. But I only had that because my heater got shot from the cold temperature difference too. So I throw that in there. I set it to 76. I instantly start siphoning the water out. I'm changing my water. I'm getting new water in there. As I'm siphoning out, I'm going to the bathroom and I'm getting water that's like 60 degrees and slowly dumping that in. As I see the temperature come up a little bit, I'm adding slightly warmer water. And at this point, the tank is reading like 62. In the meantime, while I'm adding the water and getting the new heater in there, I was able to net the 2-spot. Basically, I put a lot of the fish to sleep and they kind of keeled over. If you've ever watched Shark Week, they talk about you can take a shark and if it's right up like this, if you can flip it, usually they grab its snout. And if you flip a shark over, it kind of puts it into this like trancy daze thing. And I'm going to guess, since sharks are just giant fish, that's what happened with the 2-spot. He kind of knocked himself out and flipped over. Netted him out, put him in a specimen container with a little bit of water from the tank he was in, a little bit of water from the tank behind me. I put my rummy-nosed guys in there that I could net. I put the other guys in there that I could net. Really, the 2-spot was the one I was worried about the most because they are only wild. They haven't been captive bred yet, so I wanted to make sure he survived. Put him in the specimen container, stuck him in there, just hanging, getting acclimated again. Within about 5-6 minutes, he was upright again, breathing shallowly, but he was doing okay. Within 10, he was swimming. He was doing just fine in his little specimen container. So I didn't lose any fish from the cold water problem. Now, this heater was my saving grace because I didn't have a heater, and it's, you know, I live in the Northeast. It can get cold here. I know a 100-watt heater in a 40-gallon tank is not good. That's several sizes too small. I turned it on, set it 76. Water about 62-ish. At this point, the tetras normalized themselves. They were okay at that temperature. Plug the heater in, set it. It's really cool. It's one of those push buttons, so you push it. You can go and set it temperature that way, and then it'll click on. Red light means it's heating up. Green light means it's at its good temperature. It took about 2 hours for the tank to go up the full 10 degrees and to reach the heater. Now, in the meantime, the fish basically huddled around this heater. Like they were staying within about 6 to 8 inches of this heater because that's where the warmth was. Plus, no fish in this cold water problem. Then, Monday afternoon comes around. I look, and my brand new wild caught lapis tetras have the telltale spots of ick. It's got all these little white dots all over them. Looks like someone dunked them in salt or sugar. And I'm like, oh my god. Which I knew was going to happen because rapid temperature changes will stress the fish and bring the ick on. It just happens. So I was prepared. I had my ick-X. I have used ick-X for about 3 years now. With the 2 or 3 times I had to deal with ick, never had a problem with it. Until this time. I used ick-X like I always do. Monday afternoon, about 3:30, 4 o'clock, I put the stuff in. 24 hours later, I get home from work, and I smell that smelly smell of fish. And I'm like, well, that's weird. I figured it was just the bucket that I had from when I did the water change and had some stuff in it. Then I look at the tank, and I see all my brand new Cory cats all sticking up, just bobbing up and down. They're all dead. My peppered Corys that I've had for 4 years. Dead, but not dead. The bleeding heart tetras, the red phantom tetras. Dead. There was no saving them. Now, the weird part was, I've seen, I've had problems. It kills things. The meds can kill things. It's toxic. It's a medicine. We know meds can be bad for people and fish. So, that's why I always would rather do natural stuff before I medicate. But problem was, I had the heater. The heater's about 5 sizes too small for the size tank it's in. So I pumped it up to 82. And no matter how hard I tried, it just couldn't get the water past 78 degrees. And that's no fault of the heater. It's just too tiny for that tank. But it did get it up to 78. Which, for a 100-watt heater in a 40-gallon tank, it's rather impressive, in my opinion. I go to net the dead fish out. All my brand new Corys are dead. And then I net out my pepper Corys. And one's like wiggling a little bit. So I'm like, okay, I'll put him in specimen container. Well, I net him out. And now I take the net and I put it on top of the tank so I can get specimen container. And I hear like a thud. Like a legit thud, like I put something hard on the tank. So I go and I'm just like, I'm gently feeling the fish. His pectorals, their side fins, are like spears. They're hard as a rock. His dorsal fin, hard as a rock. Basically from his snout all the way back to his tail was stone hard. But he was moving. So something happened to his slime coat. It's the only thing I can think of. So I'm feeling him. And if you've ever had a buildup of anything on your tank and you kind of pinch it and it crackles, or you have a thin layer of ice on your car and you touch it and it just cracks, that's what was happening to his slime coat. So I don't know if it was the stress from the cold plus the stress from the ick-X. It caused the fish, and now this is thanks to a longtime fish keeper who I asked on a Facebook group, with the stress from the cold plus the stress from the ick-X, it caused the fish to overproduce a slime coat, and the slime coat started to harden from the ick-X, because if you've ever used ick-X or other ick meds, they will harden your airlines and other soft things in the tank. So was only able to save 1 Cory cat out of 12. I lost all the red phantoms I just got in. I almost lost about $400 in fish. Luckily, I did not lose everything. As you can see, there's still life in the tank. There's still fish swimming around. They're still good. What have I learned from this? I learned to double check my water when I'm doing water changes and not pump 50-degree water into a 76-degree tank. I learned that just because a product says it's popular, I learned just because people say a product's good and that it's popular with big name people, don't always have to use it, and I can try other things. I was recommended this new medicine here. all natural, herbal formula, fresh and saltwater safe. This was recommended me by a guy who has been keeping fish for a long time, a lot longer than I have. I will trust his word over popular people from now on if I have any problems with that. I don't like to medicate unless I have to. I prefer the herbal things. That's why I like Pimafix and Malefics for trying it to start before I go to the higher meds. So from now on, I will give this a try if I have more ick. The Hydro heater was a lifesaver. I would have never gotten the temperature of that water up without it. They did again send that to me to test months ago, and I've been using it in a different tank, but I'm like, I have no heater now. So I stuck it in this tank, and it has been able to keep that temperature at 76, 78. I did turn it back down just because I didn't want to stress it out too much and burn it out, basically. Because again, a 100-watt heater in that tank is too small, but it did, again, to its credit, get that water up to a sustainable level, back up to what I like to keep my community tanks at, which is about 75, 76. So please take from this, learn from my extremely stupid mistake, and hopefully it can help you also not run into this problem. And if you have a friend that has this issue, you can help them save their fish. Keep a spare heater. Keep multiple. Honestly, at this point, I'm going to say keep like 3 or 4 spare heaters on hand, all different sizes depending on your tanks. Just because you keep one spare heater, you use it, you forget to buy it, then you're SOL. So if you keep 2 or 3 spare heaters, you'll always have them. Now, I'm going to do a full review on that Hydro heater, but because I did use it to, help save that whole tank, which thank the Lords I saved that fish, because if I didn't, that tank would be gone. I would have ripped that tank down and been like, you know what? I'm done with it. I hate this footprint anyway. It would have given me the kick I need to get a 40 breeder in there and just get a new stand. So yeah, please do learn from this mistake. If you think it can help someone, make sure you share the video out. Leave a like on it if you learned anything or you just feel sorry for me. And if you have not already and you enjoy the content, please do hit the subscribe button and check out all the other stuff that we have on the channel and things. And until then, I'll see you next time.